and to nurture the bonds of our community. And we ask this in your name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time, I'll call the meeting to order. We have a quorum. Would you please do a roll call? Make sure they can hear you.
Burnham?
Here.
Chapman?
Here.
Peterson?
Here.
Okay, we do have a quorum. The consent agenda, the 5 items on the consent agenda, is there anything on there that you would like to have removed to discuss separately? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Call for a vote, please.
Burnham?
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Okay. This is a time for remarks or inquiries by the audience not pertaining to any item on the agenda. Is there anybody that would like to address the commission? If you have, we do have a microphone up there for you to come and stand if you'd like to speak.
I've got something I'd like to bring up if anybody else ain't got nothing to say.
Well, Dell, you would be under staff and board remarks towards
Yeah.
the bottom.
Oh, okay.
Okay, if there's no one that'd like to report, we'll go into the reports, the financial report for January 2023.
I printed up some reports.
Yeah, I saw that.
So we have the report on here.
Of what we had from last year to this year.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I haven't really had a chance to generate a report in general.
Okay. And we understand what burden you're under right now and the lack of employees that we've got, and hopefully this will change pretty quick. So we will look for that at our next meeting then, okay? All right. Number 7, Police Department Report, January 23, prepared by Assistant Chief of Police, Brandon Miller. Chief Paxton?
Good evening. As you'll see on the report, we'll start off on the first page, and as we go to the back, you'll find that everything's kind of calmed down, which we expected due to the, we're kind of out there and everybody seems to not be coming out like they were at night and everything. So it seems like we've kind of got some of that element down some for enforcements and stuff. But radio logs, the total that we took in February was 1,151. Area checks, y'all can see all those numbers, service calls, traffic enforcement. The total arrest, we've had 2 felony, 4 misdemeanor, and 2 municipal. The difference on those municipals are, you know, people are coming out, they get stopped, they've got a municipal warrant, we're arresting them on it now. So also our plans are, you know, once court comes up, you know, those weekends before, trying to catch some of that and get them to where they're coming to court and not just skipping out on paying us the money and the fines that they owe us. So you're going to see a difference in that. Our UCRs, which I don't know if y'all know what UCRs are exactly, if we explain that, but that's the reports that we put into Otis. Mm-hmm. So whether that's accident reports, that's crime reports, whatever it means, the UCRs are actually for FBI statistics. So not Otis is a state owned through OSBI, but the UCRs actually get reported straight to FBI. So those stats, and in the long run, that can help with grants, everything like that, as they see the stats that we have. Total mileage that we had for the month was 3,600. You can see the gas, gallons of gas. As you can see, the amount of times that we've had to go to a mechanic for something has gone down immensely. We had 3 units that didn't have to go at all. Then we've had some brakes, brake lights, headlights. We did have an officer getting a little fender bender, and it did not do any structural damage to the car. It's the old 2014 Charger, so we're not concerned about getting that. It's just a little dent in the fender and whatnot. So there was no reason to really put it in the shop and spend a ton of money on that. This is kind of for everybody. The burglaries that we had back in January on the 19th, 18th, 19th, whatever that is, we do have a suspect. We have turned all the paperwork in. We have requested a warrant. Warrant's been granted, on a $250,000 bond. He's skipping out on us. He knows we're looking for him. We've got some ideas of where he might be, but at the time being, until he rears his head, you know, it's just, we gotta hurry up and wait until we can find him or somebody else picks him up. And once that happens, then obviously he'll go to jail and then he'll go to court and go through all that. In that, there were 3 social media search warrants that were prepared by Assistant Chief Miller. Those are not the easiest thing in the world, because you're trying to get information from, where'd you get, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram. You can't just call them and get that information. I mean, there's a trick to it, and luckily DTF helped him out with that, giving him some templates and everything. So, and it says that we're waiting on the returns, but we got 2 back. And so we've been going through them. There's some pretty incriminating messages in there, so that's a good deal. Our city warrants were kind of a mess, because you have Jayhawk, you have Otis, you have the drawer over at the dispatch, and none of them were jiving. So, as you can see, several people got involved in that, including Shelley up front, and kind of got that to where it all says the same thing now. So when we do stop somebody and we're looking for a warrant, we'll know for sure, yes, no, and it won't be anything that we make a mistake on. New ordinances are going to be proposed soon. Just some things that we've seen, and of course we have to bring them to y'all, and y'all have to jive with it as well. But just some things that we've seen that might be missing, or things that might help with things. Shelley has brought up a few things, you know, with citations, the titles of citations, where, you know, like a possession of marijuana or possession of whatever it was. We don't have that specifically listed in our ordinances. So things like that we need to make sure that we have exact wording correct on it. The new dispatch training that I told y'all about last month, that we was planning on getting it implemented on the 1st. It's 95% there. There's just a few little tweaks that we want to do with it. So that should be done within the next few days, if not a week or 2. So it just needs a few more little minor details. The FEMA compliant emergency operations plan, that's our FPO. So if we have a tornado, a bomb, a fire, whatever it may be, how everybody reacts, especially dispatch, it gives them this is what you do, A, B, C, D. That's going to be part of it, and that's going to be taken care of. We're working on a PowerPoint with that. We had to clear out the back of where we were over at the jail. That, I don't know if y'all have ever been in there, but the very back room is where we had our evidence and everything. And in the past, it's where officers had to sit and do the reports. We still had a bunch of stuff in there, lost and found, some evidence, stuff like that. So last Wednesday, we went over there and we completely emptied out everything we have. In that, there's a lot of stuff. Some of it's got some monetary value. Some of it just needs to be thrown in the dumpster. We're currently going through that. Our intentions are that if we can get the stuff that is not of evidence value or anything like that, try to do a yard sale, try to do something that we can generate money to assist with some things that we need with the PD. So that's going on right now. Currently working on an anti-drug education youth PowerPoint that we're planning on putting on coming, you're looking at March-ish, so March or April. So special task force programs, the MDT, which is the one that is the sexual abuse children, women, things like that we do. That's a once-a-month meeting. That's still going. It's going really well, actually. Matter of fact, Monday is our next meeting. The LEPC, which is the overall emergency response for the entire county, which involves us, every town, every entity inside of Greer County. That's still underway. It's going pretty good. Instead of meeting monthly, we're meeting quarterly now. So our next meeting on that is in May. Mary Jane's been to some of them. So, I mean, it's going to be beneficial once it's done. It's a little slow going right now and a little bit confusing, but overall it's all well and good. Then if you'll just skip to the last page, as I said, the total logs from January to February, they have gone down. Of course, we didn't have a 22 burglary situation in the month of February, so it's not surprising that has gone down. Area checks, not that we're not doing them, but in those area checks and extra patrols, a lot of, like if you call and request an extra patrol, we'll put you on there for a month. And then if you want us to continue, we'll keep, because otherwise we would have 500 area checks that we would have to conduct every shift. And so those have gone down because we haven't really had anything in those areas over those times. Service calls have gone down. That's just because if they don't need us, they're not calling us. Traffic enforcement, again, that's gone down because we don't have as much traffic out as we did at that time. Investigations, again, that's just, we can't control how many investigations we do. It's just whatever comes across. To skip down, the UCRs, you will see that they did go up. That's because we are reporting more than what we used to. So if we get an emergency order of detention, that was not something that we entered into Otis. They are being entered in now. Again, statistics, grants, that's the ultimate goal in the long run. And then if you'll look at the very bottom, we request a lot out of our dispatchers. And those percentages, if you look all the way to the right, the 92.9, 93.8, 93.4, that is their success rate at what they're logging for the entire county on everything. You can see by PD, you can see by officer, and ACO, things like that. They've gone from a 50 to 60% up to where they're at now. We consider a 90% really good, okay? So I just want to, if any of them are watching, kudos to them because they've done an excellent job. So unless y'all got any questions, that's all we've got.
Have you guys released the suspect's name for that burglary, or are you not allowed to yet?
Yeah, we are. Normally, we try to give enough time to be able to catch without getting just a mass, everybody, because we'll receive call after call. I'm actually planning on doing that probably by the end of the week. I will do a Facebook Live, and that suspect, I can tell you, it's public record. We're looking for Christopher Lee Gloria is who we're looking for. It's open record. We got the copy of everything, and so yes, by the end of the week, if we have not caught him ourselves or somebody else has, it will be coming across live. So, absolutely.
Okay. Anybody else have questions? Not? Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate all the work. This is really good information on that. We're going to go on to ordinance and resolutions on number 8, discussion and possible action to approve the resolution 2023-23, appointing the judge, clerks, counters for the election for mayor, commissioners of finance, commissioner of police, fire, cemetery, sanitation, and judiciary to be held on March 21st, 2023. Do we usually have the list of the people here before we?
I didn't print it, but it is in the packet. I can tell you who it is.
Well, in the discussion and possible action, they need the names, right?
It's on the resolution.
It is,
Yeah.
oh, okay. I don't have a copy of the resolution
I
with me.
didn't print it.
Okay. Do we need, Corey, do we need to name the,
Just the resolution is,
just approve the resolution
Yeah.
because it's got the names in it?
because that's all the people that agreed to do
Okay, okay. All right, so at this point, I'll entertain a motion for discussion and possible action. Does anybody have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion to have a second? Second. Now, do we have any discussion on who these are? If you don't want them, then you have to do it yourself. Okay. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion, I'm sorry, I meant to call for, we have a motion and a second. We didn't call for a vote.
Okay. Burnham?
Yeah.
Chapman?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Other items, discussion regarding Earl Reed's request to apply for an economic loan from the City of Mangum's revolving loan fund to make improvements to his business.
Earl called my office. He is not going to make it today.
Oh, okay. I was
So
like,
we just need to table this.
Table it?
Yeah.
Okay, so item 9 will be tabled. Number 10, discussion and possible action to accept the best and most possible bid for the 2023 Ford F-750 SD truck for the street department. Do I have a motion? Because we don't have
I'll
to
make a
vote on it.
motion.
I have a motion and a second?
Second.
I have a second. Okay, at this time, who's going to talk to us about this? Butch or,
Come on,
I
you
guess.
got the info.
I don't have that in front of me. Steve went out for bids on that, and this is the only place that would even talk to him that was in the money that we had to spend. It's an F-750. Everybody else had, I think that F-750 is probably a two, maybe a 2.5 ton. I doubt it's a 2.5 ton. And Rush Truck Center had nothing. There was a place out of Dallas that had nothing. I know this is in North Carolina, but it's the lonesome dove. It's, we've got all of our guys CEL qualified now. They're bound to automatic transmissions. They don't even make standard transmissions anymore. This one's got an automatic, so it fits all the guys that work for the street department. Their CDLs are able to drive it. He's been waiting. This is to replace a 1994 flatbed.
Is that one not functional anymore, or is it just in really bad shape, pretty close to being non-functional?
Yeah. And
Okay.
it's got a, was it a 14 or 16-foot bed? I think
16-foot
it's a
dump bed.
16. It's not a high-side dump truck. It's so they can haul brush and stuff out of the recycle center. It's got, I believe, 24-inch sideboards, and it's what he needs. He's got 120,000 in the budget. I think that was 101.
104, 583?
yeah, 104.
101 something.
Says 104.
104,
You want to see
583.
it?
One oh four, 583.
There's a possibility that went down 3,000. They had to redo it because there was only 2 of them available and one of them sold. And the one he turned in is the only one left that we found. So there's a possibility that could be 101.
We could make a motion, couldn't we, Corey, to up to that amount?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the only one that anybody even turned one in on, so I mean, them guys need it. I think it's a good deal.
Okay.
That's up to y'all. He's got, I don't know if I told you, he's got 120,000 in the budget for that.
Okay. Do you want to amend your motion?
Well, I think, in my opinion, I think that it would be something good to, I mean, I know it would cause us to have either set up another meeting to discuss it, but only to table it just until we can find out, because this is in Raleigh, North Carolina. And he said that they didn't figure in, obviously, shipping, which I'm sure, I was gonna say delivery, but I know we can send somebody to go get it, but I think we need to hammer out that.
I would caution tabling it because it's a possibility it's gone. It is so hard to bid this stuff and it not leave. The reason I think there might be a little difference in that is that first one sold. Did you see 2 or did you only see
He gave
1?
me 2, this is the second one.
Okay, then it's 104.
And that doesn't include getting it here,
That
shipping
wouldn't
it or
be-
No,
anything?
we would have to find a means of sending somebody there to
There.
bring it back. Corey, how
Rush.
quick, if we were to table it, just per se, how quickly could we have another meeting if need be to go ahead and vote on, it, if we could come up with an arrangement? I
You have
don't, I
to-
mean, I obviously don't wanna lose it if that's a
Right.
good bid or what, it's not about that.
48 hours.
I just feel
Yeah,
like we
pick it
need
up
to
over
make
the weekend.
sure we can get proper arrangements
I
to
don't
even
know.
get there than
Not if we
to.
table it.
Let's see,
Well,
if
I'm
it-
saying
we
if
can't
you
have a
can pick
meeting
it up
till
over the
48
weekend,
hours
send
after we
2
call
guys
it.
down.
So it'd be 2 days.
One guy could drive it back, bring it there and transportation
Raleigh?
back. Take a city vehicle, if you have
That's a
to.
long ways.
I'm sure American flies direct there from down.
But if you can get this on the weekend, what about using a city vehicle, take the crew down there and one of them drive the truck back?
If you're gonna do it on the weekend, you got 2 overtimes. I mean, I don't disagree with
Well,
that.
yeah,
I
but
think it'd be cheaper to fly
overtime,
somebody up there.
overtime's gonna be cheaper than driving and transporting.
It's not gonna be cheaper than putting somebody on a plane is what I was talking about, just fly
Well,
somebody.
that's the reason I'm saying, you can drive down there in 12 hours. Have to send 2 guys in a city vehicle down there.
Yeah. It's cheaper,
Pick the
it's
truck up.
cheaper actually to fly.
Huh?
It's cheaper to fly. It is,
You
that
think so?
far, that, I know so, that far.
Yeah, I got my CDL, I'll
From,
bring that.
from
Well,
Oklahoma City
They only
to
got to
Raleigh,
just
South.
send one guy.
Huh?
You all you have to do is just send one guy with a check to go down there and pick it up.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
You just fly them, one person, get it, and come back, and drive it back.
Well, if it's cheaper to do it that way than send two over the weekend, well then,
It's definitely cheaper
I,
to
if,
fly.
if you only had two and you, one of them's already gone, you ought to call before you go, make sure it's still there. If they go that fast, this big a truck.
Well, they
How
How
don't-
long
everybody
ago
look for
did you get
something
the
this
bid
size
for both
anyhow.
of them?
We bid it Friday, and the first one sold, and then.
Like this past Friday?
And
Okay.
then he sent that second bid in Monday.
So we need to be able to tell them in the morning, first thing.
I mean, if we put a PO on it, they'll hold it. And we can figure out what we need to do to get there,
Yeah.
but, I mean, that's totally up to y'all. I think if you table it, it'll probably be gone.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? We'll go ahead and call for a vote.
Berman,
What do we vote?
We're
We go get
voting
it?
whether to purchase the pickup or not, to approve this bid.
Oh, okay, prove it, okay, yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. At this point, staff and board remarks, inquiring by the governing body, city manager, or interim, or city attorney, city employees. Dale, this is the point, if you wanted to say something, you could say something.
I was inquired about here a while back, I see the power plant things on there, but we bought a pickup here a while back for the fire chief. I was west the other day where the pickup was at, who's driving it. I understand it's gotta be in Oklahoma City this week for lights and stuff put on it. If we don't, we lose a $10,000 deposit.
I've never heard anything like that. Mike, can you, no, okay. I don't know anything about that. I don't know. Have you heard anything about that?
I heard possibly a restock fee of up to $4,000, but not $10,000.
Didn't we vote to buy the fire chief a brand new pickup for,
There's,
So we didn't
There-
vote
there
to buy
it
the
is.
fire chief a
Huh?
pickup. We voted to buy,
The fire department.
the fleet department purchased a vehicle for the fire department. It wasn't for the fire chief, it was for the fire department as a whole, but it came out
It
of
was
our
a-
fleet budget.
It was a command.
It was a,
the fire department, but it was, when the deposit they had put on it, put lights on it this week?
There was a PO done for it, for the lights and everything. It was scheduled to be there this week.
Yeah.
If it's decided not to be done, there is a 30% charge on restocking plus, shipping costs on it.
Are you talking about on the things
On
that
the-
they're gonna put on
Yes, on the lights.
the lights and stuff? But we
everything.
have to do that, right? I mean, it has to be on there, right?
Right.
Okay.
So we're
Okay.
gonna lose that if we don't get the pickup up there this week.
This week? Does it have to be up there this week?
It was scheduled,
Yeah.
actually, they told us to have it up there the 1st of March.
Okay. Is there anybody that can take it to do it, or?
well, that's not the problem. The situation is that they've moved vehicle fleet. So we voted to spend the money, but within the city, either the city manager, general superintendents can make decisions to move vehicles where they choose to. We were short fleet in different areas. The command unit didn't really seem to basically fit the profile. It's not a functioning fire truck, is basically, am I correct?
Right.
It's basically a command unit only. So they moved it
Right.
to a
Okay.
different department. We purchased the
It's
other
not in the
two.
It's not in the fire department?
No, it's being used at the electric department,
General super.
general
Yeah, sure.
superintendent. And the other two trucks have been moved, so our mechanic now has a truck
Truck.
and the other two where we were short vehicles.
That's what I thought. I just, Any other,
So in other words, we're gonna lose a deposit on it and not have a truck either.
I'm sorry, Corey, but because this was a city motion that was voted on by you, Dixie, and by you, Joe, and I'm sorry, by you.
This isn't part of the agenda for you to make comments. This is part of the agenda for the governing
body
body
for
to
us?
make
Yeah, but,
comments. You're a city employee, so yes, but please step up and speak into the microphone.
In my opinion, as the operations supervisor, that was $50-some thousand spent for a command unit. And 90 to 95% of that command unit was gonna be used to respond to grass fires. It's not the city's responsibility to budget $50,000 to respond outside the city limits. And I appreciate them guys, these firemen, for protecting these guys' fields, barns, whatever it be, outside the city limits. But that pickup was asked to be a command unit, and in my opinion, that's wrong for a city budget to budget a $50,000 vehicle to be a command unit to respond to these grass fires. That's the reason we as city employees had a problem with it.
So it wasn't gonna be used for anything else at all?
Well, if it was, they're gonna respond to fires inside the city limits, but what good's that pickup to respond to a fire?
Yeah.
We've had conversation after conversation after conversation that the two guys on duty need to be in fire trucks responding to a fire inside the city limits.
Mhm.
So that's our opinion of it, of the city employees, operations supervisors, and general superintendent. And I'm sorry that I feel that way, but I just feel like that was 50,000 going for outside the city limits. That is a city fire department, and that pickup should be used for city business.
In other words, if we got a grass fire, and we go, or somebody's got a grass fire, and we go help them, we ain't got no vehicles, no pickup or.
They got a one-ton that the forestry give to them. Why is it the city's responsibility to provide a $50,000 vehicle to go to a grass fire?
Well,
That's your city taxpayers' money.
That's a good question, but why do we need a $50,000 vehicle just drive around the city limits? Why couldn't we got a $25,000 vehicle, just drive around the city limits?
Y'all approved it. I mean,
I know, but we.
and it's better suited, at this point, it was better suited for the general superintendent than it was for outside the city limits.
Well, I seen what the superintendent was driving, it looked like a pretty good pickup to me. I don't know whether Chris liked it or not, but then,
It was 2015, and general superintendent's the face of the city that responds to people that have a problem, and he has to go deal with them as a city issue. I mean, to me, the face of the city ought to be him showing up in a decent-looking vehicle. That was a 2015 Ford, and it's had 100.
No, that's 2009.
That's right, 2009 Ford. I mean, that's,
Okay. Is there any other comments from the staff, board members, anything? And there's, Irma, there's no new business? No. Okay, no new business. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
well, there's another item on there about the power plant, do we want to take that up?
Now, that
That's on
is
the
on the next
MUA.
On the
agenda.
MUA.
Okay,
Okay, so can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion, do you have a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, call for a vote, please.
Burnham,
yes.
Chapman,
yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Okay, all right, meeting is adjourned, and we're going right into the agenda for the Mangum Utility Authority. I'm calling the meeting to order. Would you do a roll call, please?
Scott,
Here.
Burnham,
Here.
Chapman,
Here.
Peterson,
Here.
Okay, we do have a quorum. The consent agenda consists of the 5 items for the minutes and special meeting minutes, financials, claims, and estimated payroll. Is there any item you'd like to have removed off of the consent agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Call for a vote, please.
Scott,
Yes.
Burnham,
Yeah.
Chapman,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Remarks or inquiries by the audience not pertaining to any item on the agenda? Is there anything that anybody would like to bring up at this point? Okay, if not, we'll go on to item number 6, discussion in regard to reviewing the City of Mangum to collect $2 power plant fee on residential meters within the corporate city limits to the City of Mangum for the operation of the power plant. And I did ask Butch and Chris to be here today. Glad Gordon's here to kind of give us the information you may be looking for to have the information that you need about what's really going on. So I need one of you guys to kind of tell the community about what's going on really right now with our power plant and what the $2, if at all, is being used. And would you please come up to one of you? Which one? Chris, are you going to come? Gordon?
I'm already on hot seat.
Okay.
If I get somewhere where I misspeak, y'all stop me. There's, yeah, the $2, that $2 charge is not being spent. Did you print that off?
I did not.
I can tell you in September or October, Judith, you remember you requested, and it was 67-ish, somewhere in there, in the account. That's not touched, unless we spent $1,200, approximately $1,200 on the gas line, the natural gas line, and it's not repaired. We spent $1,500 on the diesel tank. It's not repaired. We approached y'all about the 4,000. Mark brought up that we do have a 2,500 gallon tank that we can move over there on skids and fix the diesel problem. But you fix the diesel problem, you start them on diesel, they run on natural gas, so you can't switch them to natural gas. If you do get them started, 6 and which one? 6 and 4 are the only two that will run adequately. Yeah, maybe, and that will not, that won't run the town. So you're gonna have to pick and choose your, we got 3 circuits on it, and north would be the hospital, south would be the PD, courthouse, and then the west. So you fight and argue about who's gonna get that little bit of power, and I'm not sure, would that do the north circuit, those 2?
Oh, yeah, you can run the north circuit.
I didn't know if, of course, the hospital's got their own now, right?
South circuit.
That includes the nursing home also, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, you can run a hospital and nursing home.
One of them that's down, the dark start is down's got a cracked head. One of them, I don't remember which one's blowing oil. 5 is blowing oil.
One ran for a week solid back in February of '21 when we had
Had that ice storm?
And when you say blowing oil, I mean, it's not like a pickup engine that has 5 to 15 quarts of oil. I mean, it's got
Oh, I've-
hundreds of gallons
Yeah.
in there.
I saw it.
And, you know, we've conversed about this time after time after time, and those are 30-some model ship engines. The number 6, I don't remember what model it is. It's not a ship engine.
Put in the late 60s.
It's a higher RPM,
First 3
and
up there were changed out in the 1930s.
the town of Fairview has some motor or some ship engines that we could get parts off of. But if you go up there and they make you the deal, I can tell you they're not going to let you pull them parts off with them sitting there. They're going to want them moved.
And they have to be the right kind too. We've got Fairbanks.
Yeah.
I've called Fairbanks Morris and given them model numbers.
And they're like, yeah.
We
For
don't look at them anymore.
before I retired, we had number 3 or number 4 with the scavenger air pump.
That's
Number
number 2.
2, it's got like a 36-inch pump, and all it does is pump air to the intake because they gotta have so much air to run. And it's about a 3 or 4 inch pancake piston. It's on a double buckled rod. I don't know how it works, but it worked back in the day. And anyway, this piston melts, and one of the rings went bad, so we chose, and we talked to the council, and the council all voted on it. We went and got a $10,000 piston from Tulsa. I don't remember the name of that company up there, but some company decided they'd build this for us, and they built it. And we installed it, and it won't dissipate the heat because it's metal. So all it's doing is running that cylinder, so that didn't work. So we're not about trying to spend that 70,000 that's in there for that $2 meter charge, because nothing's working on this stuff. And they're getting obsolete. They're, the last, correct me if I'm wrong, the last person that actually knew them engines and could keep us going on them, I mean on all, we know a little, I know a little bit, Gordon knows a little bit, Chris knows a little bit, but Jim Burns knew how to keep them going. He had worked on them, and you know how long it's been since he's been here. He was the last,
That's when we had a crew.
yeah, they were down there.
That was paid.
I started
We
to
were
say,
getting up like $12,000 a month from OMPA,
15
15.
For
Well,
standby.
last time, look, they paid by how many megawatts you could generate.
right,
And then as the engines go down, they paid us less.
mm-hmm,
And with that money was supposed to go straight to the power plant for a crew to be there, which basically was for the salary of one employee and inmates to work with them. And
They were pulling them
That
covers
went on the
off
wayside.
and tightening valves, and, you know, they were maintaining them as they run
well,
them.
Jim worked there in the sixties and then came back. So
well,
he-
Chris, what is your opinion on even fixing them or having, I mean, to me, and I have dealt with this for many years,
Good.
I don't think the
Put money
engines,
into a dinosaur.
They're gonna throw millions of dollars at something you're gonna get a nickel for it out
In fact, OMPA probably put in.
Has anybody looked around at, a lot of these cotton gins is closing down and everything? We had some pretty good sized engines in them cotton gins when I worked in them. Started that little engine on diesel, switched that engine over to gasoline and kept on.
It'd be the
Kept on
same
turning.
situation as Fairview. Who's gonna move them? I mean,
some kind of massive construction. If they could move one of these, wind things,
You know how they moved them in back in the day? Railroad line ran right to
Yeah.
the south side of it. and put them
that's
on
true, I
the
hadn't
railroad.
thought
well,
about
it's,
that.
I know, but you got trucks that'll haul it. I had a nephew that haul stuff like that.
95% of your gens are gonna be electric.
Does it
have a
generator on the end of the engine?
Well, we had
Yeah.
that, we had that engineering study
We had a
done for the
little,
grant.
the
that's
one
still,
when I worked
from
at
what I
them, they had a
understand,
little
not
diesel that
worked
you
out.
cranked up as
No,
a
it's-
starter for the big engine. Once it gets
But
started,
that
you
was
swapped
for
it over to gas.
everything.
Yeah.
And
And it
that
just
was
kept on
$60
running.
million.
Yeah, I started to say that was,
I've seen some,
It just hasn't ruled out yet because it was a multi-billion-dollar grant and it was a, no match grant. And basically, when she came and spoke about it, it was a no match grant. They were trying to basically keep these small town
What's
area
the-
power plants
what's the max
alive
we need to
because
run
there's
the
only a
whole
couple
thing?
of them left. And because we already had our engineering study, she thought it would put us at the top of the list. So she told us as soon as she knew, she would let us know so we could submit the paperwork for the grant. We have not heard anything
well,
from
they
her
had a
right
study
now
on there for,
since then, which that wasn't that long ago, and I think she said it was gonna be March or April before they thought
Okay.
about getting, but that's gonna
I
be the only
remember.
way that we're gonna be able to sustain that power plant.
I've seen some studies in there on that computer, and it's anywhere from, Caterpillar, like number 6. They've got them that, these guys said 10 megawatts would be the load to run the whole town, and there's a deal in there that was, 10 1 megawatt generators set in series, and that was the cheapest, and it was 3.5 million.
Well, let me ask this, so fixing the diesel tank, fixing the line is not enough to obviously do anything. We still don't know that they're gonna start, if they're gonna run, and we can only run portions of the town. So, I mean, at this point, what do we do about that $2 fee? Obviously, if we're, and the last time, OMPA, right, they're the ones we have to contact them when we're gonna run it, is that correct? If, or they contact us,
Yeah.
well, okay.
But now safety wise,
But what are the
Used to.
stipulations of that?
used to, they called to tell us we were clear to come
They
on.
were the ones putting all the money in it. And the reason they wanted that is they broke the power. They have people in there, and if they don't broker enough, like in John Ramp, enormous gas bills you
Right.
get, that stuff quadruples when they don't broker enough of it.
The,
And that's why they want us to do that, because it costs us 3 times as much to generate than what we're gonna
Put
get
out.
They paid 15,000 a month, year-round, to be able to come in
And they bought
June, July, and August to keep under their peak.
But we
'Cause
don't get that anymore.
No.
No.
No, because it's not
Because we don't have
running.
anybody manning it, there's not running it all the way.
When there's a bad weather situation, they would call us to run.
And the last time we had bad enough weather for it to run was last February, or of 21. That was the last time we had a
But it was
significant enough
still
storm.
partial. It
Right.
wasn't the whole town.
Right, right.
You're,
No, we was actually running off of them, but we were shaving a peak off of them, and we were running to knock some off.
you're looking at a situation, if you spent that 70,000, you might run one of these 3 circuits. Might.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, if we're not gonna fix the power plant, then I don't know why we're spending the money, collecting the money to put in a safety deposit box and not fix nothing as far as power for the city goes.
Do you know, like, when we patched the tanks and stuff, did that come out of that fund?
No, the only thing that I know is that a few years ago, we paid, I think, $500.
What we
For
do,
you guys
what we
to-
get the money out of when we, had that work done on that heat transformer. You know, a few years ago, we had to have those, what you call them? Tap changers? The tap changers, and those little blade things that's in there.
It could have been that. And we're
We
looking
own
at,
that- We own that substation, which is extremely high.
we're looking at that
priced equipment.
control box too.
Yeah.
There's 4,000 happening down there, hopefully. But, I mean, we're not wasting it. It's people's money and it's sitting there, but, I mean, it'd be foolish to spend it and then beat your head against that wall and still. We may have to.
So do you guys think that what we should do possibly is to, you 3 get together with our interim and eventually our city manager, and let's talk this so we can bring something to the people and
We'll
say,
Schedule a public public meeting, let
Well,
the
we
people
could-
in
we-
on it.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
just have it for that.
yeah,
Well,
yeah, and tell.
that was my way of thinking. Actually, last 2 times the cities needed it, we didn't have it. And, I sure was not comfortable sleeping in the pickup trying to stay warm the other night. But I did. And that was my question then is, if we're collecting the money and it's just sitting there, we're not doing anything with it but just looking at it and counting it.
Well, that's what you do with a lot of money, Dale.
What good is the plant?
Dale, that's what you
Sitting
do
there
with a
for
lot of
money.
money for a certain number of years so that it get it built up so that you can do something. And I totally understand what you're saying, but and our gentlemen are sitting here saying you could spend every dime and it might not do a thing.
Well,
And so that's something we need to figure out what we're gonna do.
There's some of that spent, and there has to be, for that to be 70,000, but I don't know what it was spent on. It was spent on the power plant, but I
Yeah.
don't know what items. But
Yeah.
it's like, was riding
Yeah.
a horse to death.
All right.
We could have went ahead and spent the last 70,000 on, been nothing in there.
Yeah.
And we'd still be sitting where we're at now.
Yeah, okay. All right, so, do we hear that from you guys? Do you think, Chris, do you think we need to have a public meeting and then kind of bring all this out, so everybody can just say what they feel? Yeah. Yeah, that would be a good idea. And then make the decision whether to keep the $2 or let it go on that, okay?
I mean, can you turn that off, Corey, but leave it in, not collect it, but leave it where if they had a meeting and.
You could still keep it in the budget, you should still keep it in that place, you would just have emotions, you wouldn't take $2 out of there.
We wouldn't have to vote on it to
Right.
start it again.
Well, yeah, you would.
Y'all would have to vote on it, but not the people.
Oh, well,
Well, they
Didn't we
could
put
vote,
that?
They could vote to turn it off, the council can vote to take it off at any time. And then they can vote to put it on at any time.
okay, that's what I wasn't sure
The
about.
only thing, I mean, having a public hearing other than letting people in on it, which I think we could probably put out a public service announcement without having to do a meeting, only because what is the meeting gonna do? We don't have the funds to repair it, we don't have the funds to replace it, we don't have $16 million sitting around to buy all new generators, new motors, everything to run it. So having a public hearing, aside from letting them know, and I feel like we could do that with an article in the paper, or Officer Paxton could put it on his PD Live.
But it, I mean, and I agree with that, but I think you've got a lot of people that would like to put their
Something we haven't
opinions
covered.
in.
What's
Who's
that?
gonna run it?
Yeah,
Right, yeah. I mean, I'm not against, I'm just saying, what do you think the benefits are gonna be if,
You got
because
some-
we're not
you got two
capable of
guys that
starting it up
maybe knows
right
how to
now?
run it.
We could get that grant. We could be lucky enough that that grant will come down the line and we'll get it.
One of
And
us
if we do, we
just had a
can
hip replacement.
go
I talked to
forward,
him
but right
today
now,
about training somebody. I asked him promptly, I says, would you accept the cities, to work for the cities for 90 days if that plant come back up to train somebody how to run that plant? He said, if you write me a contract for 90 days, I'll teach an idiot how to run that plant.
isn't gonna happen because nobody wants to pay the electric bills they have.
So
But the
that
problem
was
is
his,
3 million's not
he
even
would
gonna
be
touch
willing
it.
to teach somebody
All
how
of
to
that
run that
equipment's
plant
obsolete.
if
The
we
old submarine
ever got it
engines,
where it'd be raw operational
I
again.
mean,
So, I mean, I talked
Okay,
to
are
him
there-
today about that.
are there any more comments or questions about that from the
Well, I don't-
commissioners?
I don't- The
Anything?
only comment I know of is, are we gonna keep putting the $2 in it, or are we gonna
This is a
find
discussion.
somebody to fix it?
This item is a
Or replace
discussion, it's a discussion, there's
there's no
no,
action on this.
reading here to make my motion to approve or disapprove or change anything. So what we will have to do, we will have to meet at another time.
Okay.
And we will have to make a decision whether to take the $2 off or not.
Well, either that, or where you could hold that open meeting and see what the city of Mangum thinks about it. Wants to talk about it, and if they,
Well, I mean,
citizens of Mangum decide they don't want to put $2 in it, well, I
well,
think we
that's,
take it off.
well, and I'm like the citizens of Mangum, if your $2 not gonna be used for anything, I mean, if we can't fix it, and it's, that's what we need to
Well,
get out and do that, so.
If there's plans to fix it, you're gonna gain by keeping it on there.
So, SWOTA came down, our grant writer that we have access to from SWOTA had come down, I'm trying
It's
to think.
about a month ago,
I was
wasn't
gonna say, I
it?
thought it was January, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken, but she
okay.
had come down, and there is a multi-billion-dollar grant that's coming down the pipeline to basically restore these old power plants, because there's not very many of them left, so they're trying to keep them. We've already had the engineering study done on ours, so she thought that we would actually have a pretty good chance to get on the list to get the money, but the engineering people told us, which I'm not really sure where this gap ends or why it's such a big gap, but they told us it would cost $8 to $16 million to redo that power plant and make it functional as it should have been. We have the study, it was. No, we had it done, Dave did it, Dave had them come down.
Yeah.
Back when Dave was
It was
here.
when Dave was here. We have the paperwork on it. Dave is the one who had the engineering study done on it. And so,
7.3 million, I seen that.
well, but because of inflation, they said anywhere between 8 and 16 million is basically what we would want to apply for on the grant. She's supposed to be monitoring it. It hasn't come down the pipeline yet and what all is gonna be required, but she did know for a fact it was a no-match grant. They were just giving this money to restore these power plants.
That happened while I was off.
Yes. So basically, we're just waiting to hear the go from her because we've got the engineering study to be able to submit for this grant and see if we get anything out of it. So, because that's gonna be the only way we can sustain that power plant or continue to have it. And we can contact her. We'll get in contact with her and find out. No, but if the 8 to 16 million grant that we get and it completely restores it, at some point, we're still gonna be doing maintenance on it. We're gonna have to have people run it. So that's where we have to decide, is it worth keeping the $2 fee, keep stocking money aside for the power plant on the off chance, and then try to figure out if we don't get the grant, what to do with it then, and how to either give it back to our citizens or do something else with it that could benefit the city. I mean, that's the only thing that hangs me up is taking it off when we could potentially use it if that power plant is redone, if we by chance get that grant.
And until we hear from her, we don't know anything, so we need to wait till we hear from SWOTA.
Yeah, and we just need to, we'll reach out to her. I don't mind reaching out to her. We can ask her what the status is to what she's heard.
Just table it until later on, until we find
Well,
out
there's
more
no,
information on it.
there's no action to be taken on it
Okay.
anyway.
Okay.
So we may want to wait and then make sure that, Irma, this is on the agenda for next month, for sure. Okay. Any other questions, comments about, the power plant? Okay. I appreciate you guys coming and letting us know, because this is the time to ask questions for these guys if they're here. If you have any questions at all about that power plant, these three guys here are the ones that'll know what's going on right now. Okay. If there's nothing else on item number 6, then is there any staff and board remarks here in the MUA?
No, ma'am.
No new business? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Would you call for a vote, please?
Scott,
Yes.
Burnham,
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Okay. That covers. Meeting is adjourned.